Welcome, everyone, to Book Buffet. This is the Addison Public Library's Twitch channel. My name is Courtney. I am one of the teen librarians at the Addison Public Library, and this...
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the business services specialist here, also at the Addison Public Library, because that's where we are right now.
That's right. Now, you may be wondering, why is the business services librarian here?
Yeah.
Because we do business services Twitch streams as well. So you actually had one, was that last week?
A couple weeks ago, yeah. It was on unlocking your career potential. Yeah, and we're going to have one coming up soon as well in the next couple months.
We are planning.
Yes,
we are
in the planning.
We're as we're learning more about Twitch, as we've been very, very clear, and I've been very vocal. We're still learning.
Yeah.
But as we are learning, we are also planning on some really cool things that are coming up. So just a reminder that next month, at the end of next month, we are going to be doing a Let's Play Something Spooky. And everyone is asking me what we're going to do, and I am being very vague intentionally because I'm not sure.
To be determined.
To be determined. Or I've been watching a lot of Gravity Falls lately, so to be determined.
Oh, okay.
You got my
that's
earworm
a flashback.
there.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Right there.
No, it's great. I've seen it, and it's very fun watching again when you know what's up.
Yeah.
And you're just like, there were signs. It's so fun. Okay, so we are reading The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who is I just enjoy his stories. It's a Sherlock Holmes story, so it is a mystery. Sherlock Holmes and his famous sidekick is not the best word, but honestly, it's who he is. But partner is John Watson. So in this story so far, yes, there you are with your muddiness. So in our story so far, there has been a murder. Very surprise. So Sir Charles Baskerville had mysteriously died. He was found outside his home, out in the moors, which are a very spooky at night, beautiful at day kind of place. Just, there's fog. You should not walk out in there. There's sinkholes. Don't go there.
Okay.
It is a dangerous place, but a lovely place. So Sir Charles Baskerville was found dead on his property. It looked like he had stood by his back gate for a while, waiting for a while, and then it looked like he had turned and ran, and it almost looked like he died of fear, like his heart gave out.
Okay.
So very mysterious.
Yes.
Now, it comes about that there seems to be a supernatural curse on the Baskerville family because long ago, one of the Baskervilles was the worst, and he got cursed for it. And so it is said that if any of the Baskerville family, I think specifically the men, if they live at Baskerville Hall, so their big mansion, if they live there, they are doomed to be chased and killed by this hellhound, the Hound of the Baskervilles. So the family mostly moved out, but Sir Charles moved back and was doing a lot of good works around the community, and then he was found dead. Oh no. And
only the good die young, right? Who knows how old he was too at this point.
I think he was middling old.
Yeah.
But what we're more concerned about is the other good dying young is his nephew, cousin, I'm not sure. He's been in America for a while. Is the heir, who is Sir Henry Baskerville, who has inherited the estate and is moving to Baskerville Hall to take up his uncle, I think, to take up his family member's station and also responsibilities for the community. So we're like, go you. Now he does know about the curse, and he's like, that's not going to stop me from doing my duty. And it's like, okay, good job, buddy. So we have Dr. Mortimer, who is a family friend and a local doctor there, who went to Sherlock Holmes with this case. Okay. He's actually less concerned about proving anything about the curse or the murder, death. They're not sure it's a murder. They think it's like a supernatural death type of a thing. So he's less concerned about the curse and the death, and he's more concerned about that Sir Henry has been receiving some threats, and maybe, like, how do we make sure this guy doesn't die too? We kind of need these people, and we need their money. And this guy's like, and I'm friends, like, I'm sure you are. Yeah. So Sherlock Holmes is like, yeah, it's all important, sure. But I'm way too busy to deal with this. So I'm going to stay here in London and work on some other stuff. John Watson, though, he's cool. I'm going to send him along with you. And and like, you're going to be besties, and you're going to, and he's like, John, whatever you do, don't let him out of your sight. First thing that John does when he goes there is he goes for a walk by himself. So they get there, they have a really creepy night in the morning. They're just like, oh, actually, that was silly. Ha, 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 ha. It was creepy. You find out that the butler has something suspicious going on, so they kind of like figure that nonsense out. So more importantly is that at this moment, so there's also, they meet like neighbors, the Stapletons, who is a brother and sister, and Henry Baskerville has like properly fallen for the sister, and is 100% trying to woo her. And but like the brother is like weirdly, insanely enraged about this, like weirdly jealous.
Like more than like protective sibling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like saw them kind of walking alone, like from a distance he saw that, and it looked like they were cozying up a little bit, and this man like ran a mile and just socked him.
Okay.
Like it's a bit, and it's like everyone is just like, well, why? This dude is rich, and don't you want your sister to have like a good marriage? She seems to like him, he seems to really like her. Like, this is best case scenario. She would be like the most well-to-do woman in the area.
Like especially at a time when like class upgrade is like such a big thing.
And they live like just a few, they're like neighbors. So like she's not far.
Yeah.
So it's very weird. A little bit strange. I have theories.
Yeah, we'll see what turns up with that one.
and I've said it before. I have read this a long time ago, and I don't remember if my theories are me remembering the plot or just like...
So it's a whole new world to you again, which is great.
Either I'm right or my memory kicked in, so it's an adventure either way. So that's going on. That's a little bit of a weirdness. You also find out from the brother that like the moors are super, super dangerous, and you should never go out into them, specifically at night. So take that little tidbit. Don't go in the moors. Specifically, don't go in the moors at night because you're getting chased by a cursed hellhound type of a thing. So, like, don't go out in the moors at night. So the butler is doing something weird. He's going around and, like, sneaking around the house at night. And also his wife is crying, even though, like, the butler's like, no, she's not. And she's like, yes, I was. Anyway, it's weird. So they like kind of follow him and figure it out. They find out that there is an escaped convict, a murderer, who is out in the moors, who they like heard about that when they arrived. Turns out that escaped convict is the brother of the butler's wife. So she's been crying because she's super stressed.
Yeah.
Fair.
I get that.
Very fair. But they've been like signaling each other. This guy's like hanging out in the moors and the ruins and stuff, like outside of the mansion. And they signal each other at night so that that's when they know the coast is clear, and the butler goes and brings him food.
Okay.
So
interesting.
So they go, this is a very dangerous escaped convict who went to jail for murdering multiple people. I have a stick. Let's go get him.
I love that. I love that for the time.
In the middle of the night, in the moors.
Where you're not supposed to be. We've been through this multiple times, people.
And they're like, we're men. Let's go. So
we have our stick.
So John Watson and Henry Baskerville run out to go and get this guy. They go to the area and there's like a candle flickering there. They see the man hiding in the ruins who sees them, and that man takes off. This guy,
I would too if you're not supposed to be known that you're hanging out in there.
Yeah, this guy could have won an Olympic medal. like he booked it. He was gone. They could not catch him. And like finally they also heard like the calling of a hound while they're out there, so they're also like
but they have their stick.
But they got a stick. And like John has a gun, but he's like, I didn't actually intend to shoot a man, so I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Which I'm like, I guess you're not like mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to kill a guy. You know, like that's good. I'm glad you have that hesitancy actually. And like the guy ran. He didn't come attack. So like I get that.
Yeah.
It was grand. Anyway, so they're out in the moors. Okay. They heard the dog, or what sounds like a dog. Very spooky. They chased after this guy. They're everywhere they should never have been, honestly. And then like they're kind of like sitting there. That seems to be
like the theme, though.
Oh,
you just do exactly the opposite of what someone tells you to
100%. So. I mean, when you're trying to go for like a spooky story, common sense is never present. So like they're standing out there just huffing and panting and just trying to catch their breath, and also like Henry is just like ready to keel over, just and scared. And John Watson kind of looks up, and there's like this big rock, and he sees the silhouette of a man standing there. Just like, and he's like, he just sees it for a second, and the guy's like staring out into the moors, and like he sees it and he goes, and he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Yeah, so he's just like, it could not have been the butler. It couldn't have been that guy because he went that way. It couldn't have been Stapleton because it's the wrong body type. Like he's like, it could not have been a single person.
Who could it have been?
Hopefully we'll find out soon.
Oh, now I'm very intrigued. Okay, let's jump into it.
So that's where we are. So these are written in forms of letters that John Watson sends back to Sherlock Holmes, or like in his diary. Okay. So currently we are going through his journal. So this is October 17th. All day today the rain poured down, rustling on the ivy and dripping from the eaves. I thought of the convict out upon the bleak, cold, shelterless moor. Poor devil. Whatever his crimes, he has suffered something to atone for them. Slide pause. So they went back to the house, and Barrymore was like, why did you go and chase him? And they're just like, he's a convict murderer. And they're like, look, if you just wait like 2 days, we have like... We're gonna get him out of the country and send him to, I think, America.
Like, awesome.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah. Where all the escaped convicts come, right?
And so they were like, just leave it alone.
At like, this time.
Fine. Yeah. So, yeah. You still have an escaped convict that they're allowing to, like, they decided to.
They're just like, we're just gonna ignore. That's fine. Right?
Technically, Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, I mean, Sherlock's nowhere near this right now, but, like, John Watson's not a cop. They're just
very true
people. They're sort of like private investigators.
Yeah.
Who are obnoxious.
Who have like no real authority.
Yeah. I mean, they're very much like you walk in the room pretending like you own the place. That's them.
I can get that vibe.
So whatever his crimes, he has suffered something to atone for them. And then I thought of that other one, the face in the cab, the figure against the moon. Was he also out in that deluged, the unseen watcher, the man in the darkness? In the evening I put on my waterproof, and I walked far upon the sodden moor, full of dark imaginings, the rain beating upon my face and the wind whistling about my ears. God help those who wandered into the great mire now, for even the firm uplands were becoming a morass. What is a morass? Morass. I'm guessing like a mire type of a thing, like a swampy.
Yeah, an area of muddy or boggy ground.
Okay, so that's where like the moors get super dangerous, because people can kind of like sink in and such and not come back out again. Yeah. I found the black tor upon which I had seen the solitary watcher, and from its craggy summit I looked out myself upon the melancholy downs. Rain squalls drifted across their russet face, and the heavy slate-colored clouds hung low over the landscape, trailing in gray wreaths down the sides of the fantastic hills. In the distant hollow on the left, half hidden by the mist, the 2 twin towers of Baskerville Hall rose above the trees. They were the only signs of human life which I could see, save only those prehistoric huts which lay thickly upon the slopes of the hills. Nowhere was there any trace of that lonely man whom I had seen on the same spot 2 nights before. Spooky. As
really
I
set the scene on that one. Yeah.
I will give imagery.
Yes.
They
imagery is strong in this
Imagery
one.
is strong. I love it. As I walked back, I was overtaken by Dr. Mortimer, so that's the family doctor, driving his dog cart over a rough moorland track which led from the outlying farmhouse to Foulmire. He has been very attentive to us, and hardly a day has passed that he has not called at the hall to see how we are getting on. He insisted upon my climbing into his dog cart, and he gave me a lift homeward. I found him much troubled over the disappearance of his little spaniel. Oh, he lost a puppy. Oh, and that's the spaniel who, like, appeared at the very beginning of the book, too. So, like, when he showed up at Sherlock Holmes's place, he had a spaniel dog. So, oh no, the dog is missing. I'm more concerned now about this.
About the dog. We don't care about the escaped convict anymore.
No.
Or the random shadow of the man. We care more about the dog right now.
Where's the dog? It had wandered onto the moor and had never come back. So I gave him such consolation as I might, and I thought of the pony in the Gripen mire, and I do not fancy that he will see his little dog again. By the way, Mortimer, said I, as we jolted along the rough road, I suppose there are a few people living within driving distance of this whom you do not know. Oh, hardly any, I think. Can you then tell me the name of any woman whose initials are LL? Oh, that was a clue. So Barrymore, the butler, after they were like, okay, fine, we won't turn in your brother-in-law, even though he should go back anyway. Yeah. They're like, we won't turn him in. Barrymore's like, oh, thank you, and he starts to walk away, and he goes, you might be interested to know that I know why Sir Charles was at the gate waiting, because he got a letter from some woman with the initials LL. Here's the letter, or like I found a burnt letter, and all I saw was like, meet me at the gate at midnight and burn this letter, LL. And they're just like, why did you not tell us this? And he's like, I didn't want to ruin his reputation.
Cat's out of the bag now.
He's like, I didn't think it was relevant. And they're like, what? So, we don't know who LL is.
Another mystery. I feel like we need to keep like a list of running mysteries, like side mysteries for this story.
That would be fun, actually. We need a whole red string chart. Like, who is LL? Yeah. Maybe if we do like another Sherlock story, we should totally do that. All right. So, can you tell me the name of any woman whose initials are LL? He thought for a few minutes. No, he said. There are some. Oh, I hate it when they say that. There are a few gypsies, we don't call them that now, and laboring folk for whom I can't answer. But among the farmers or gentry, there is no one whose initials are those. Oh, wait a bit, though, he said after a pause. There is Laura Lyons. Whatever. Her initials are LL, but she lives in Combe Tracy. Who is she? I asked. Oh, she is Franklin's daughter. What, old Franklin the Crank? Exactly. She married an artist named Lyons, who came sketching on the moor. he had proved to be a blackguard and deserted her, the fault from I hear may not have been entirely on one side. Her father refused to have anything to do with her because she had married without his consent, and perhaps for one or two other reasons as well. So between the old sinner and the young girl, and the young one, so there's a little one too. Mm-hmm. So between the old sinner and the young one, the girl has had a pretty bad time. Well, how does she live? I fancy old Franklin allows her a pittance, but it cannot be more, for his own affairs are considerably involved. Whatever she may have deserved, one could not allow her to go hopelessly to the bad. Her story got about, and several of the people here did something to enable her to earn an honest living. Stapleton did, for one, and Sir Charles for another. I gave a trifle myself. It was to set her up in the typewriting business, which honestly is a really good job at that time of day for a woman. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to know the knowledge I'm spewing simply because of Downton Abbey.
Yeah. I mean, hey.
Which is around this time. Yeah. So he wanted to know the object of my inquiries, but I managed to satisfy his curiosity without telling him too much. For there is no reason why we should take anyone into our confidence. Tomorrow morning I shall find my way to Combe Tracy, and if I can see this Miss Laura Lyons, of equivocal reputation, that's just a hard word to say when you see it, a long step will have been made towards clearing one incident in this chain of mysteries. I am certainly developing the wisdom of the serpent, for when Mortimer pressed his questions to an inconvenient extent, I asked him casually to what type Franklin's skull might belong. If you remember at the very beginning, this man's obsessed with the shapes of skulls and what that means. It's weird. Very obsessed. He just starts blathering on for days. So he's I don't want to answer any more questions. Hey, what kind of skull do you think Franklin has? And so I heard nothing but the craniology for the rest of our drive. I have not lived for years with Sherlock Holmes for nothing, which is hilarious. Basically saying, I'm used to someone rambling about nonsense that I don't care about. I have only one other incident to record upon this tempestuous and melancholy day. Man, that was a fun sentence to just say there. This was my conversation with Barrymore just now, the butler, which gives me one more strong card, which I can play in due time. Mortimer had stayed for dinner, and he and the baronet played cards afterwards. The butler brought me my coffee in the library, and I took the chance to ask him a few questions. Well, said I, has this particular relation of yours departed, or is he still lurking out yonder? I don't know, sir. I hope to heaven that he is gone, for he has brought nothing but trouble here. I've not heard of him since I left out the food for him last, and that was 3 days ago. Did you see him then? No, sir, but the food was gone when next I went that way. Then he was certainly there. So you would think, sir, unless it was the other man who took it. I sat up with my coffee cup halfway to my lips and stared at Barrymore. You know that there is another man, then? Yes, sir, there is another man upon the moor. Have you seen him? No, sir. Well, how do you know of him, then? Selden told me about it. That's the brother-in-law.
Okay.
Selden told me about him, sir, a week ago or more. He's in hiding, too. But he's not a convict as far as I can make out. I don't like it, Dr. Watson. I will tell you straight, sir, that I don't like it. He spoke with such a sudden passion of earnestness. Now listen to me, Barrymore. I have no interest in this matter but that of your master. I have come here with no object except to help him. Tell me frankly what it is that you don't like. Barrymore hesitated for a moment, as if he regarded his outburst and found it difficult to express his own feelings in the words. It's all these going on, sir. he cried at last, waving his hands towards the rain-lashed windows which faced the moor. "There's foul play somewhere, and there's black villainy brewing, to that I'll swear. Very glad I should be, sir, to see Sir Henry on his way to London again. But what is it that alarms you?" "Look at Sir Charles's death. That was bad enough, for all that the coroner said. Look at the noises on the moor at night. There's not a man would cross it after sundown if he was paid for it. Look at this stranger hiding out yonder and watching and waiting. What is he waiting for? What does it mean? It means no good to anyone in the name of Baskerville, and very glad I shall be to be quit of it all on the day that Sir Henry's new servants are ready to take over the hall." "But what about this stranger?" said I. "Can you tell me anything about him? What did Selden say? Did he find out where he was hid or what he was doing?" "He saw him once or twice, but he is a deep one and gives nothing away. At first he thought that he was the police, but soon he found that he had some lay of his own. A kind of gentleman he was, as far as could be seen, but what he was doing he could not make it out." "And where did you say that he lived?" "Among the old houses on the hillside, the stone huts where the old folk used to live." But how about his food?" "Selden found out that he had got a lad who works for him and brings him all he needs. I dare say he goes to Combe Tracy for what he wants." "Very good, Barrymore. We may talk further for this some other time." And when the butler was gone, I walked over to the black window and I looked through the blurred pane of the driving clouds and at the tossing outline of the wind-swept trees. It is a wild night indoors, and what must it be in a stone hut upon the moor? What passion of hatred can it be which leads a man to lurk in such a place at such a time? And what deep and earnest purpose can he have which calls for such a trial? There in that hut upon the moor seems to lie the very center of that problem, which has vexed me so sorely. I swear that another day shall not have passed before I have done all that man can do to reach the heart of that mystery.
I mean, lots of great questions at the end right there.
Solidly.
I was like,
solidly.
Yes, I agree with all of those questions. What is going on?
We're off to an interesting poll. Ooh, chapter 11, titled The Man on the Tour.
Oh, can we finally find out who this man is?
I sure hope so. I sure do. All right. The extract from my private diary, which forms the last chapter, the one previous, has brought my narrative up to the 18th of October, a time when the strange events began to move swiftly towards their terrible conclusion. Foreshadowing. The incidents of the next few days are indelibly graven upon my recollection, and I can tell them without reference to the notes made at the time. I start them from the day which succeeded that upon which I had established two facts of great importance. The one, that Mrs. Laura Lyons of Lyons, it's Lyons. That's why I'm lost on this. We're going to stick with Lyons. Okay. That Mrs. Laura Lyons of Combe Tracy has written to Sir Charles Baskerville and made an appointment with him at the very place and hour that he met his death. The other, that the lurking man upon the moor was to be found among the stone huts upon the hillside. With these two facts in my possession, I felt that either my intelligence or my courage must be deficient if I could not throw some further light upon these dark places. This is true. I have no opportunity to tell the baronet that what I had learned about Mrs. Lyons upon the evening before, for Dr. Mortimer remained with him at cards until it was very late. At breakfast, however, I informed him about my discovery, and asked him whether he would care to accompany me to Combe Tracy. At first he was very eager to come, but on second thought it seemed to both of us that if I went alone, the results might be better. The more formal we made the visit, the less information we might obtain. I left Sir Henry behind, therefore, not without some pricklings of conscience, and drove off upon my new quest, because he's been told, don't leave the man. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go by.
Yeah. Again, you do the opposite of what someone tells you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just how we play the story.
When I reached Combe Tracy, I told Perkins to pull up the horses, and I made inquiries for the lady whom I had come to interrogate. I had no difficulty in finding her rooms, which were central and well appointed. A maid showed me in without ceremony, and as I entered the sitting room, a lady, who was sitting before a Remington typewriter, sprang up with a pleasant smile of welcome. Her face fell, however, when she saw that I was a stranger, and she sat down again and asked me the object of my visit. Interesting. Mm-hmm. The first impression left by Mrs. Lyons was one of extreme beauty. Her eyes and hair were of the same rich hazel color, and her cheeks, though considerably freckled, were, like that's a bad thing, were flushed with the exquisite bloom of the brunette. Mm-hmm. The dainty pink, which lurks at the heart of the sulphur rose? Whatever. The heart of the sulphur rose. I wonder if that's more of a phrase. What? All right.
One moment, hold please.
Pause. Yeah, well, we'll be looking into that one. I'm guessing it's like...
I think it's just probably a
description of a color.
Yeah, describe like the complexion.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. That works. Yeah, so like she blushed.
Yeah, she blushed.
Yeah. Admiration was, I repeat, the first impression, but the second was criticism. There was something subtly wrong with the face, some coarseness of expression, some hardness, perhaps, of the eye, some looseness of the lip which marred its perfect beauty. But these, of course, are afterthoughts, as the moment I was simply conscious that I was in the presence of a very handsome woman, and that she was asking me the reason of my visit, which is fair. Mm-hmm. I had not quite understood until that instant how delicate my mission was. I have the pleasure, said I, of knowing your father. It was a clumsy introduction, and the lady made me feel it. Well, there is nothing in common between my father and me, she said. I owe him nothing, and his friends are not mine. If it were not for the late Sir Charles Baskerville and some other kind hearts, I might have starved for all that my father cared. Well, it was about the late Sir Charles Baskerville that I have come here to see you. The freckles started out on the lady's face. In other words, she went pale. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, freckles. Yeah. What can I tell you about him? She asked, and her fingers played nervously over the tops of her typewriter. You knew him, did you not? I have already said that I owe him a great deal to his kindness. If I am able to support myself, it is largely due to the interest that he took in my unhappy situation. Did you correspond with him? The lady looked up with an angry gleam in her hazel eyes. What is the object of these questions? She asked sharply. Well, the object is to avoid a public scandal. It is better that I should ask them here than in the matter that it should pass outside of our control. She was silent, and her face went very pale. At last she looked up with something reckless and defiant in her manner. Well, I'll answer, she said. What are your questions? Did you correspond with Sir Charles? Certainly. I wrote to him once or twice to acknowledge his delicacy and his generosity. Have you the dates of those letters? No. Have you ever met him? Yes. Once or twice when he came to Combe Tracy. He was a very retiring man, and he preferred to do good by stealth. So, anonymous giving.
Yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. But if you saw him so seldom and wrote to him so seldom, how did he know enough about your affairs to be able to help you, as you say that he has done? She met my difficulty with the utmost readiness. There were several gentlemen who know my sad history and united to help me. One was Mr. Stapleton, a neighbor and an intimate friend of Sir Charles. He was exceedingly kind, and it was through him that Sir Charles learned about my affairs. I knew already that Sir Charles Baskerville had made Stapleton his almoner term. Upon several... wasn't really me ordering you, but...
I'm... Almoner. All vocabulary is good.
Almoner.
An official distributor of alms.
Okay, so like charities.
Giving, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So of his money that he's giving away. So he's the official guy who takes care of like the charity works. So he had made Stapleton his almoner upon several occasions. So this lady's statement bore the impress of truth upon it. Did you ever write to Sir Charles asking him to meet you? I continued. Mrs. Lyons flushed with anger again. Really, sir, this is very extraordinary question. I'm sorry, madam, but I must repeat it. Then I answer, certainly not. Not on the very day of Sir Charles's death. The flush had faded in an instant, and a deathly face was before me. Her dry lips could not speak the no, which I saw rather than heard. Surely your memory deceives you, said I. I could even quote a passage of your letter. It ran, Please, please, as you are a gentleman, burn this letter and be at the gate by 10 o'clock. I thought that she had fainted, but she recovered herself by a supreme effort. Is there no such thing as a gentleman? She gasped. You do Sir Charles an injustice. He did burn the letter, but sometimes a letter may be legible even when burned. You acknowledge now that you wrote it. Yes, I wrote it, she cried, pouring out her soul in a torrent of words. I did write it. Why should I deny it? I have no reason to be ashamed of it. I wished him to help me. I believed that if I had an interview, I could gain his help, and so I asked him to meet me. But why at such an hour? Because I had only just learned that he was going to go to London the next day and might be away for months. That's news. We didn't know that one before. There were reasons why I could not get there earlier. But why rendezvous in the garden instead of visit the house? Do you think a woman could go alone at that hour to a bachelor's house? Well, what happened when you did get there? I never went. Mrs. Lyons! No, I swear it to you on all that I hold sacred. I never went. Something intervened to prevent my going. Well, what was that? Well, it's a private matter. I cannot tell it. You acknowledge, then, that you had made an appointment with Sir Charles at that very hour and place at which he had met his death, but you deny that you kept the appointment. That is the truth. Again and again I cross-questioned her, but I could never get past that point. Mrs. Lyons, I said as I rose from this long and inconclusive interview. I don't know, you learned stuff. I feel like you learned things.
Yeah.
You are very great. You are taking a very great responsibility and putting yourself into a very false position by not making an absolutely clean breast of all that you know. If I have to call in the aid of the police, you will find how seriously you are compromised. If your position is innocent, why did you in the first instance deny having written to Sir Charles upon that date? Because I feared that some false conclusion might be drawn from it, and that I might find myself involved in a scandal. And why were you so pressing that Sir Charles should destroy the letter? If you have read the letter, you will know. I did not say that I have read all the letter. You quoted some of it. I quoted the postscript. The letter had, as I said, been burned, and it was not all legible. I asked you once again why it was that you were so pressing, why it was so pressing to you that Sir Charles should destroy this letter which he received on the day of his death. The matter is a very private one. The more reason why you should avoid a public investigation. I will tell you then. If you have heard anything of my unhappy history, you will know that I made a rash marriage and have reason to regret it. I have heard as much. My life has been one incessant persecution from a husband whom I adore. Abhor, not adore. That is a very different thing.
Yeah.
Who I hate. The law is upon his side, and every day I am faced by the possibility that he may force me to live with him. At the time that I wrote the letter to Sir Charles, I had learned that there was a prospect of my regaining my freedom if certain expenses could be met. It meant everything to me. Peace of mind, happiness, self-respect, everything. I knew Sir Charles's generosity, and I thought that if he heard the story from my own lips, he would help me. Then, how is it that you did not go? Because I received help in the interval from another source. Why, then, did you not write to Sir Charles and explain this? So I should have done had I not seen his death in the paper the next morning. Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who is this mystery
Yes. Like
giver of all
could it
this
be?
stuff? Yeah. I was going to say almoner. Was that the word we just learned? Almoner? Yes. So who's this mystery almoner?
Benefactor is
Yeah,
a good word
benefactor.
too. Who is your benefactor? The woman's story hung coherently together, and all my questions were unable to shake it. I could not check it by finding if she had indeed instituted divorce proceedings against her husband at or about the time of the tragedy. So he could double check the facts. That's good. It was unlikely that she would dare to say that she had not been to the Baskerville Hall if she had actually really been there, for a trap would be necessary to take her there and could not have turned. So trap is like a carriage. Yeah. So they'd be able to double check that too. And could not have returned to Combe Tracy until the early hours in the morning. Such an excursion could not have been kept secret. The probability was, therefore, that she was telling the truth, or at least a part of the truth. I came away baffled and disheartened. Once again, I had reached the dead wall which seemed to have been built across every path by which I tried to get at the object of my mission. And yet, the more I thought of the lady's face and her manner, the more I felt that something was being held back from me. Why should she turn so pale? And should she fight against every admission until it was forced upon her? Why should she have been so reticent at the time of the tragedy? And surely the explanation of all this could not be as innocent as she would have led me to believe. For the moment, I could proceed no further in that direction, but must turn back to the other clue which was to be sought for among the stone huts upon the moor. Tell me who this is.
I'm wanting to know.
I need to know. All right, and that was a most vague direction. I realized it as I drove back and noted now upon how the hill after hill showed traces of the ancient people. Barrymore's only indication had been that the stranger lived in one of these abandoned huts, and many hundreds of them were scattered along the length and breadth of the moor. But I had my own experience for a guide, since it had shown me the man himself, standing upon the summit of the Black Tor. That, then, should be the center of my search. From there, I should explore every hut upon the moor until I lighted upon the right one. If this man were inside it, I should find out from his own lips, at the point of my revolver if necessary, who he was and why he dogged us so long. He might slip away from us in a crowd at Regent Street, but it would puzzle him to do upon the lonely moor. On the other hand, if I should find the hut and its tenant should not be within it, I must remain there, however long the vigil, until he returned. Holmes had missed him in London, and it would indeed be a triumph for me if I could run him to earth where my master had failed.
This man is on a mission.
He's like, get him. Get him. Luck had been against us again and again in this inquiry, but now at last it came to my aid, and the messenger of good fortune was none other than Mr. Franklin. Fascinating, sir, that you just showed up here after we've talked to your daughter. Mr. Franklin, who was standing, gray-whiskered and red-faced, outside the gate of his garden, which opened on to the high road along which I traveled. "Good day, Mr. Watson," cried he, with an unwonted good humor. "You must really give your horses a rest and come in to have a glass of wine and to congratulate me." My feelings towards him were very far from being friendly after what I had heard of his treatment of his daughter. Good. But I was anxious to send Perkins and the wagonette home, and the opportunity was a good one. I alighted and sent a message to Sir Henry that I should walk over in time for dinner, and then I followed Franklin into his dining room. No, I don't. Why are we talking to him? I want to know.
Yeah. I think we may have to find out in the next.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. "It is a great day for me, sir, one of the red-letter days of my life," he cried with many chuckles. I had brought off a double event. I mean to teach them in these parts that law is law, and this is a man who, like, goes to every county meeting and, like, in one hand is the worst and like causes problems for everybody, and then in the other hand will like this is a guy who like builds fences in the middle of roads just to complain to people about it,
that there's
and
a fence
fight things and be like, no, this was always here.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what are you talking about? Like he's like, it's been here for 100 years, it's where it originally was. And I'm like, but there's a road, you know.
But it's
like,
a new fence that you should.
Yeah. But then at the same time, he'll just be like, we need clean water. Like, so he's like, they love him and hate him.
Yeah.
So I have brought off a double event. I mean to teach them in these parts that law is law, and that there is a man here who does not fear to invoke it. I have established a right-of-way through the center of Old Middleton's Park. Slap across it, sir, within 100 yards of his own front door. What do you think of that? 100% this man just being a problem.
Yeah.
We'll teach these magnates that they cannot ride roughshod over the rights of the commoners. Confound them. And I've closed the wood here, and Fernworthy folk used to picnic, so he closed the woods where people would picnic. These infernal people seem to think that they have no rights to property, and that they can swarm where they like with their papers and their bottles. Both cases decided, Dr. Watson, and both in my favor. I haven't had such a day since I had Sir John Morland for trespass because he shot in his own warren. Oh my gosh. This guy's like, that man went hunting on his own property. I got him charged for trespassing on his own property. How on earth did you do that? Look it up. It's in the book, sir. It will repay reading. Franklin versus Moreland. Court of Queen's Bench. It cost me £200, but I got my verdict.
I love like the pettiness and like sass that is in this book. It is just
so good.
It's peak. I love it.
Like £200 then was so expensive. And here's Watson's response. Did it do you any good? None, sir, none. That's literally what it says. None, sir, none. I am proud to say that I had no interest in the matter. I act entirely from a sense of public duty. It's so good.
I love that.
It's so
That's
good.
amazing.
I have no doubt, for example, that the Fernworthy people will burn me in effigy tonight. I told the police last time that they did it, I told the police that the last time they did it, they should stop those disgraceful exhibitions. The county constabulary is in a scandalous state, sir, and it has not afforded me the protection to which I am entitled. The case of Franklin versus Regina will bring the matter before the attention of the public. I told them that they would have an occasion to regret their treatment of me, and already my words have come true. How so? I asked. The old man put on a very knowing expression. Because I told them what they are dying to know, but nothing would induce me to help the rascals in any way. I had been casting round for some excuse by which I could get away from this gossip. But now I began to wish to actually hear for more of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, why would you want, like, this is some hot tea that's coming up.
I had seen enough of the contrary nature of the old sinner to understand that any strong sign of interest would be the surest way to stop his confidences. So you have to, like, play off that you don't care. Mm-hmm. So Watson goes, I assume some poaching case, no doubt, I said with an indifferent manner. Excellently played, sir.
Yes.
My boy, a very much more important matter than that. What about the convict on the moor?
The convict again.
Yes. I stared. You don't mean that you know where he is, said I. I may not know exactly where he is, but I am sure that I could help the police to lay their hands on him. Has it ever struck to you that the way to catch the man was to find out where he got his food and then to trace it to him?
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum,
We
bum,
know
bum.
where the food's coming from, though.
Yes.
So.
But is he actually talking about the actual convict or about the other dude
Ooh.
that we're hunting right now?
Because this guy might think.
Yeah. And
okay,
Barrymore,
okay.
or it was whoever it was, I don't remember anymore. Barrymore said that his brother-in-law said that guy had a kid who like goes and buys him food from the town that they're in right now.
Yeah.
So it's possible that this guy is just like, that's the con. Okay, all right.
Yeah, very true, very true.
He certainly seemed to be getting uncomfortably near the truth. So Watson's like, oh no! No doubt, said I, but how do you know that he is anywhere upon the moor? I know it because I have seen it with my own eyes, the messenger who takes him his food. My heart sank for Barrymore. It was a serious thing to be in the power of this spiteful old busybody, but his next remark took a weight from my mind. You'll be surprised to hear that his food is taken to him by a child. Haha.
Okay.
I see him every day through my telescope upon the roof. Why do you have a telescope upon your roof?
I mean...
Is this how you get, like, everybody's... It's absolutely...
Yeah.
He just sits there and
just watches.
Man is a problem. He's a menace. I love him.
Yeah.
He passes along the same path on the same hour, and to whom should he be going except to the convict? Here was luck indeed, and yet I suppressed all appearance of interest. A child. Barrymore had said that their unknown was supplied by a boy. It was on his track, and not upon the convicts that Franklin had stumbled. If I could get his knowledge, it would save me a long and weary hunt, but incredulity and indifference were evidently my strongest cards. I should say that it is much more likely that it is the son of one of the moorland shepherds taking out to his father's dinner. The least appearance of opposition struck fire out of the old autocrat. His eyes looked malignantly at me, and his gray whiskers bristled like those of an angry cat. Indeed, sir, said he, pointing out over the wide-stretching moor. Do you see that black tor over yonder? Well, do you see the low hill beyond which the thorn bush sets upon it? It is the stoniest part of the whole moor. It is that place which a shepherd would be like. Is that the place that a shepherd would be likely to take his station? Your suggestion, sir, is a most absurd one. I meekly answered that I had spoken without knowing all of the facts. My submission pleased him and led him to further confidences. You may be sure, sir, that I have very good grounds before I come to an opinion. I have seen the boy again and again with his bundle. Every day, and sometimes twice a day, I have been able, but wait a moment, Dr. Watson. Do my eyes deceive me, or is there a present moment something moving upon that hillside? Another thing. They're going to run into the hills where they shouldn't be. It was several miles off, but I could distinctly see a small, dark dot upon the dull green and gray. Come, sir, come, cried Franklin, rushing upstairs. You will see with your own eyes and judge for yourself. A telescope, a formidable instrument mounted upon a tripod, stood upon the flat leads of the house. Franklin clapped his eye to it and gave a cry of satisfaction. Quick, Dr. Watson, quick, before he passes over the hill. There he was, sure enough, a small urchin with a little bundle over his shoulder, toiling slowly up the hill. When he reached the crest, I saw the ragged, uncouth figure outlined for an instant upon the cold blue sky. He looked around him with a furtive and stealthy air as one who dreads pursuit, and then he vanished over the hill. Well, am I right? Certainly, there is a boy who seems to have some secret errand. And what errand is even a country constable could guess. But not one word shall they have from me, and I bind you to secrecy also, Dr. Watson. Not a word, you understand? Just as you wish. They have treated me shamefully. Shamefully! When the facts come out in the Franklin versus Regina, I venture to think that a thrill of indignation will run through the country. Nothing would induce me to help the police in any way, and for all that they have cared that it might have been me instead of my effigy, which these rascals burned at the stake. Surely you are not going. You will help me to empty the decanter in honor of this great occasion. But I resisted all of his solicitations and succeeded in dissuading him from his announced intention of walking home with me. I kept the road as long as his eye was on me, and then I struck off across the moor and made for that stony hill over which the boy had disappeared. Everything was working in my favor, and I swore that it would not be through the lack of energy or perseverance that I should miss the chance which fortune had thrown in my way. I have bad news. It is 11:32. We've got a page and a half-ish, and frankly, I think it'd be a lot more fun if we stopped it here.
Yeah. We'll leave you all with a cliffhanger until the next book buffet.
Also because, like, the way that the next chapter starts, you kind of already know it, and I think it'd be a lot more fun to have, like, fresh reactions on stuff. Okay,
Ooh.
we left
at a good part, so he's just dashing towards the hill.
Dashing towards the hill,
to
dashing
find
all the
out
way.
who the child is, as well as who this man is.
Yeah, so following where the kid is going to, because I think the kid's less important. I think he's just somebody who's
he's just like a
to,
delivery boy.
Yeah. But like, who is this mysterious person? Because like, is it connected with the mystery, or is this just like a red herring?
I know. This is why we need this wall, this mysterious wall behind us with all the red yarn to kind of follow it.
Right.
But no, more to come on this
More
story.
to come.
It is.
More to come.
I'm in it. I'm
See, we need to know. We're going to find out who this mysterious man is. I assume, but we will. We're going to find out who this mysterious man is. We need to figure out where this hound is, because you keep hearing like the calls and crying of a hound.
Yes.
If there is a supernatural hound, where is that being coming from? Who is summoning this creature?
Yeah.
What's going on there? And if it's not a supernatural hound, which Sherlock Holmes is like, there's a logical explanation.
Yeah.
Who is keeping the doggo? And what are they like? What are their motives? What's happening here?
And what happened with that beagle?
Yeah, what happened
We need
to
to
the
know
dog?
what could you imagine? I'm totally guessing here because I've never read this story.
Yes.
The beagle is the hound.
Like this little thing. They just got
causing all of this trouble.
They have like a microphone. Like just to go like.
Just like amplifies it.
Yeah, like the dog is like.
Totally not going to be the thing, and if it is, okay, I foreshadowed it.
A little woof is like. I like that theory.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because it just went missing. It's chilling out in the moor right now.
That's right. Yeah. There's and so many people are like Barrymore's still a little sus.
Yeah.
The Stapletons are odd. There's Franklin is hilarious.
Yeah. And just like suing everyone.
And I love how he's just like, I didn't actually care about it.
Yeah, but I just wanted it to be known.
I just wanted to be a problem.
Like written down and be known.
So funny. All right, I'm glad you were enjoying this as much as I am. I hope anybody who is watching this is enjoying it as we are. It is like surprising how full of tea this is.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the pettiness and the sass is like next level, especially for this time, because you wouldn't think so.
Oh yeah, the culture expectation. You wouldn't think so, but actually, like the British are the most sarcastic, sassy folk in the planet.
Like you would think it would be all prim and proper in this time, because that's how we like when we see movies and things about this time, it's all like it's Downton Abbey, it's prim and proper, it's like all of this, and then you like the words written on the page is but
then you do have
to drink up.
You do have the Dowager played by Maggie Smith, who is like peak sarcasm. True. She is proper sass. All right. Well, I think that's enough for today. So
thanks for joining us.
We're gonna learn something good next week.
Yeah, definitely gonna be tuning in to see who this mysterious man and child are on this hill.
All right. Looking forward to it. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.